welcome to New Game Plus TV live on twitch.tv/New Game Plus TV. You might be watching us on C31 in Melbourne, C44 in Adelaide, or listening to us as a podcast. My name is Cringe, and I'm here with Meg, Jamie, and Don. How you all been?
Not too bad, Jack. And you?
I'm just hanging out, man. It's not like I can leave the house, so it's just
great. It's
holding
wonderful.
tight in the middle of. We had a fun storm. All of you missed it a little bit further out of town, but being the inner city youth, we got directly in the path of it. So it was like, cool, close all the windows. I don't feel like dealing with that much weather today.
I just like the sound of rain, to be honest. I think that's the best part.
Right, God, I love it.
Yeah.
Armageddon that we got as part of this big old squall.
But I have actually been enjoying a bit of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. You can look forward to that review coming up in next week's show live. But Adrian and I tried playing multiplayer with it. Heads up, it's a bit of a fucking nightmare right now at the moment. It's not good. Like, it really... Square Enix was like, we're going to do cross-platform play, which on paper seems like a really good idea, but the way that they've implemented it is an absolute nightmare. It's like friend code level bullshit, where it's like, here is your invite code, and it's like 20 digits or something, and then you make lobbies and you can invite friends, but they're not PlayStation Plus friends, which it doesn't tell you that. It's like you have to invite Square Enix Crystal Chronicle friends. And I'm like, guys, you put money into this. So yeah, but I mean, there are a lot of good aspects of the game. I'm looking forward to getting into that. Hopefully there'll be some server patches. Have you guys been playing anything else lately, I guess? Getting into anything?
I've been playing a bunch of Judgment lately because I missed Japan. I realized that there's a new Yakuza game coming out in about less than 3 months now, which is good. So that's kind of like one of the last games in a series I haven't really finished. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go actually finish it this time.
Mm-hmm.
Judgment's a really good one from what I recall. I think Matt was super duper into it when he reviewed it last year.
He was definitely, last year he was super into it. Like, it's a cool video game. It kind of just never really stuck to me. Kind of really got to me the last time I got into it. So now I'm just going through it again. I'm like, hey, this is pretty good. But it helps I got a working PS4 now, so that definitely helps.
Oh, sweet. Good score.
And Yakuza 7's coming out later in this year?
November 13, get hype.
Good stuff.
There's Call of Duty.
So we've got a full show coming up for you. We've got a quiz time event in just a moment, thanks to Don. Meg, you're going to be chatting with Steph Panecasio. We'll get into the meat of that in just a little bit. And Jamie, you've been playing a bit of the Tasmanian Tiger, the 3D remasters, and SpongeBob SquarePants Rehydrated is what it's called.
Got it. That's right. Yep. I've been playing a bunch of 3D platformers because 2003 was a very good year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that works in 2020. So, spoilers, it does.
I mean, you're going to get a lot of remasters. I mean, I continue to play Spyro Reignited Trilogy because I just have such affection for that game. But
oh my gosh, actually, I can add to that. On the weekend, I booted up the Rare collection and started playing Viva Pinata from scratch again because I am trying. Look, I really want a new game
collection.
Thank you, Don. I loved it. And I also tried Lost in Paradise or whatever it's called, the second one, and I put that one aside like straight away, went back to the OG. Really enjoyed like channeling my 2008 gamer self and like defending my garden from those big evil pinatas. So I just really want another one to come out on next gen. God, is that too much to ask? Rare, yes. Can you hear me?
It might be.
No.
It might be a little bit. They're too busy making Sea of Thieves 2 because the first one worked out really, really well for them.
They're still trying to figure out what Everwild is, guys. It's cool.
I need a petition signed. We need to get this viral. Like, let's call our mates. Seriously.
More 3D platformers, but that is coming up later as well. But first, Don, you have a quiz time event. You're going to bring us some spicy questions about the gaming news.
Yes. Normally this would be the part where we talk about the gaming news, but I decided to give you, Jack, a break from it all this week. So I'm going to deliver the news in the form of trivia questions, because what has Zoom become but a trivia delivery mechanism? I say, talking on Discord. So anyways, Jack, Jamie, Meg, put your hands up, say your name when you want to buzz in and you know the answer to the questions for the past week in gaming news, as we record this on the 27th of August. So, question the first. What do Microsoft, Spotify, and Sonos have in common? Ooh, I didn't expect this one to be a stumper.
Exclusive headphones.
I forgot about
subscription service.
I do not recognize your authority until you put your hand up and say
Megan, subscription services.
close, but not the answer I'm looking for. I might give you a
Okay.
half point for that one there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got nothing.
The answer is all three have thrown their support for Epic Games in their current lawsuit against
Really?
Apple.
Hold on.
In that particular billionaire slap fight that's going on at the moment.
Wait. Okay, I know Microsoft. I know definitely Microsoft. But what do Sonos and the other company have to do with
They
this?
also threw their support because they also develop apps for iOS.
Hmm.
They also would like to
Right.
charge a subscription fee, but they have to give Apple the 30% cut. We discussed this
Right.
on last week's New Game Plus Live. Basically, it would be great if that 30% cut that Apple currently takes gets reduced. That's not going to be the outcome from this entire billionaire slap fight, though.
No, it's not.
But it's still really exciting watching it unfold.
Yeah, watch from a far distance is the safest bet. Next question. Who are the playable characters confirmed for the upcoming Gotham Knights game?
Jamie,
Jamie has that one.
that's Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, and the Red Hood.
Correct. 1 point there for Jamie. Any of you excited for Gotham Knights?
Yeah, I kind of am. Like, I'm one of the few people who actually kind of liked Arkham Origins, and I'm just happy to see, like, and I suppose we'll be talking about the Suicide Squad game as well. Like, I'm happy to see
Definitely.
more DC games that aren't Batman. Like, there's no Batman in any of these games. Like,
There will
thank you.
absolutely be Batman in these games, don't you worry.
More than likely, but the fact that he's not like the focus is something. I'm happy to see at least a little bit more variety, even if they kind of are leaning more towards RPG stuff and service game stuff. It's just like,
Yeah, I agree with Jamie on this, and I'm hoping that they use all their learnings from their previous games to avoid those things happening again in future and making it feel even more polished from the disasters in the past.
We'll find out when the game comes out in 2021. Speaking of games coming out soon, according to the teaser trailer for the Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War game, what happened between April and June 1989?
I should know this because I wrote up the news line
Jack,
for it.
I believe you're buzzing in there.
What was it? Between...
What happened between April and June 1989, according to Activision and this trailer? Jamie.
apparently, they found time to re-record another version of Blue Monday by New Order.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Megan, something with JFK and Robert Redford having a meeting in a big boardroom.
Not
Reagan
quite.
was
The answer is So there was a version of the teaser that went out which included footage of the Tiananmen Square protests. That footage was then teaser was then blocked by China, so Activision re-uploaded the trailer with that footage taken out for the entire world. So the answer, according to Activision and according to that teaser, absolutely nothing happened.
No,
in those
nothing
2
happened in
days.
Tiananmen Square. Absolutely nothing
That's
happened.
a bit of an oversight on Activision's part. Like to kind of completely be like, oh, we'll just put in all of this big historical event footage, and then one of their biggest demos, China, where I imagine Call of Duty Online is probably bigger than a lot of the console releases we get here.
Yeah.
That's a massive oversight. My God, that's...
Like, okay, I get the fact that, okay, cut it out for China. That's fine. Look, I get it. But there's a whole argument we could talk about. Oh, like China should have this, but I get it. But also cutting it out for everybody? Really?
Australian classification has resulted in changes to games for the entire world, so it's not unprecedented territory.
Fallout 3
Speaking
was
of
an okay
Australia and changes around the world, though, what does the number 212, how's that number relevant to Microsoft Flight Simulator?
Jamie.
Ooh, Megan.
Megan.
Due to a programming error, a building that was supposed to be 212 or something really normal sized building size ended up being 212,000 kilometers or something high in the sky.
That is, I'll give you the point. That is the number of stories that apparently exist in the Falconer obelisk that is currently in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I believe I'm not sure if it's been patched out yet, so if you have a copy of the game, just fly around and just bask in its unholy glory.
I can see it from my house.
Exactly. I mean, we all bow down to the obelisk. Anyways, I'm going to give you all a chance to answer this one. The 2020 Summer Games Done Quick Speedrunning Marathon raised over $2.3 million. I want you to try and guess what the average donation was. Jack, I'll start with you.
I knew it was 2.3. I was like, he's going to ask the average donation number.
I'll give you a clue. It's between $25 and $100.
And it's closest without going over?
Yes. 3,
48.
2, 48. Jamie?
75.
75. Meg?
I know, $25. Absolutely.
The answer I am looking for is $69.28.
Oh,
so
nice.
Jack is closest without going over.
Congrats, Jack.
Yes.
That's really cool. $2.3 million, though. What was the charity it got raised for?
It was for Doctors Without Borders in America.
Cool. Nice.
So worthy cause. The Fazbear Fan Initiative is a fan game funding project for which series?
Jamie. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's is correct. The developer for Five Nights at Freddy's is going to use some of his the money he's made from Five Nights at Freddy's to help fund some of the fan games that have been developed out there. Apparently, that community is still very, very strong.
Apparently.
So, at the end of that particular session, Jack is currently on 1 point. Jamie is on 2 points. Megan is not that far behind on 1.5 points.
Watch out, you guys.
It all comes down to this final section. Now, we've been talking a lot about simulators as Microsoft Flight Simulator is currently flying about out there. We are going to get even more simulators as time goes on, like Surgery Simulator 2 is just about to come out. So, I decided to put together a list of simulator games. You need to tell me whether they are real or not.
Jesus Christ.
So, first off, Bus Mechanic Simulator. Is that real or fake, Jack?
Fake.
Real.
Jamie, real? Meg?
I'd say real.
Real?
It's just a game.
That is real.
Yes.
Do not top tip, Jack, do not underestimate the amount of simulator games out there.
Well, I was going to say, Jamie's almost at an advantage because you did a recommended on weird simulators, and so it's like you've probably looked up a bunch of weird simulators.
No, it was only one game, American Truck Simulator, on sale now on Steam, I think. You should go buy it. It's really cool. But I didn't know anything about that. Not at all.
Next question, if I can open this document. There we go. Autobahn Police Simulator. Real or fake? Jack?
Now I'm conflicted. Fake.
Real? Fake?
I'm going to say fake for sure.
Jamie, you said fake?
Yeah, I did.
Jack, what did you say? Real or fake?
Fake.
You're all wrong. It's a real game.
Oh, come on.
This round is going swimmingly for everyone. Garbage Truck Simulator. Real or fake, Jack?
What was the simulator?
Yeah, say it again.
Garbage Truck Simulator.
I really hope that's real.
Jamie?
Sounds real to me.
Meg?
I'm going to say fake.
You are correct. That is indeed fake.
Yes.
Of all of the,
I'm
that
really
one
good at
makes the
this. I'm
most
on
sense to
fire.
me. Come on.
Yeah. I can imagine it being like a training module for new carbos everywhere.
Jeez.
Tourist Bus Simulator. Real or fake?
Oh,
Jack?
Real.
imagine riding on the top of the bus. I'm going to say fake.
Meg, you say fake?
You trying to
Jack?
bait me, man? Is that what that was?
Jack, real or fake?
Real.
Real? Jamie?
Fake.
Jack is the only one to get a point out of that one. because
Yeah,
that one is
boy.
real. Airport Ground Simulator. Real or fake, Jack?
Airport ground simulator.
You know, for the ground workers
Yeah.
at the airport.
I think
Right.
that would be real.
Jamie?
Fake.
Meg?
I can't imagine anyone getting the rights to be able to send like a drone down there to get like blue, like actual data of that. So I'm going to say that's fake.
That's some good logic there, Meg, because it is indeed a game that I made up.
Meh.
What's it called? Up next, Roadworks Management Simulator. Real or fake? Jack?
You're giving me like simulators that just seem super real because they're so niche, they're so focused in, and I'm like, no one would play
That's
them.
what they are.
Welcome to gaming in 2020.
Yeah, true.
Hyper niche games for a very loyal market. Is it real or fake, though?
I think it would be real.
Is there Lollipop Lady fashion? Because if there is, it's such a real game. I'm going to absolutely say it.
Jamie, is it real or fake?
I think it's real.
Hook, line, and sinker, all three of you. That's a fake game.
Aw,
Although
come
I
on.
do love the idea of of Lollipop Lady DLC.
Yeah.
Finally.
Being able to accessorize fully.
Rotate your signs for whatever situation you're in. I mean, rain, hail, shine, you're going to still be out there. It sounds dramatic.
Who needs Fall Guys costumes when we have these costumes, apparently? Finally, Winter Resort Simulator. Is it a real or fake game? And I'll start with you, Mig.
Ooh, I'm going to say real.
Real?
Yeah.
Jamie.
Real.
Jack.
Yeah, real.
No, you all got it. That is a real simulator game.
I actually regretted saying it was real, but I'm so glad I stayed without it.
Fun fact, all the real games are published by one studio, Aerosoft GmbH.
Germany!
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's not all like the truck simulator guy, the Scandia. Is it Scandia? Yeah.
Something like that. So at the end of that, I am going to give you, Meg, 3 points for getting the most. Jamie, you get 2 points, and Jack, you get 1 point.
Again, yeah.
So at the end of all of that, Jack, you are on 2 points. Jamie, you are on 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
Meg, you are on 4.5 points. You are the winner of this edition of Quiz Time Events.
Yay! I never won anything, so it's such a proud moment. Thanks to my mum for giving birth to me, and Don, great questions. Really great stuff.
If Jason was here, he'd be saying someone would be cheating right now.
Whoa, my hands are here, guys.
Let's see your Bing history then.
Yeah.
Just looking up all those games.
See,
anyways, thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, viewers, for joining me in this particular edition of Quiz Time Event. Jack.
Yeah, so that is just some of the gaming news. I mean, some. There's probably others, but we don't cover all the gaming news.
It is every story that has happened in the world ever.
It's ever. Oh, God, I forgot. I'm so sorry. But coming up next, we've got an interview with Steph Panecasio. You spoke with her a little bit earlier, Meg. What was that about?
I did. So even when we were back in the studio before COVID-19 hit, one of my favorite things to do was interview really cool people from the Melbourne and Australian games industry and hear about their careers and how they're trying to make a difference in the local scene here. And Steph Panecasio was on my list next to chat about, because even during these unprecedented times, we're still seeing incredible AAA and indie releases. And journalism is a huge part of communicating these news about tech and gadgets and gaming to people while they're all living from home, working from home. So I asked Steph about her career, and basically we met in the local gaming scene, but she's specialized her talents in creative writing as associate editor at CNET, but she specializes in health, lifestyle tech, and does a little bit of gaming reviews on the side. And I really wanted to hear from her and her perspective about how to push through and get your writing out there for people to see and read so you can get better and upskill, and how to perfect your craft in a really competitive industry. You've covered all types of topics that are really relevant to the gaming space, so from technology, health, lifestyle, and gaming, where we actually originally met at a convention many moons ago. It's a small world, I think. How has working from home been, though? I mean, it's a crazy time, and you're always pumping out content, and usually you'd be at the office having like big brain syncs and collaborating with colleagues and stuff over the latest headlines that you needed to push out. Like, how's that transition been at home?
Well, the ironic thing is, really, I started the job that I'm in 2 days before lockdown. So I haven't really had a chance to experience what the office was like. I had 2 days of the office, which was great, and it was nice to catch up with everyone, but that was like the first 2 days, so it was a really big learning experience, and I didn't really have my grip on what I was doing, really. So working from home from that perspective was a hell of a challenge, because all of a sudden I was like starting this entirely new job with a new CMS, with a new process, with a new team, both in Australia and in the US and the UK. And I had to do that without actually being able to talk directly to a lot of the people that I needed to talk to. So luckily my team are wonderful. And I did know a lot of them earlier. But Slack has been my best friend throughout this whole thing, because I do not know how I would have learned half the things that I needed to learn if not for that.
I actually have a thing with like just death by Zoom calls at the moment, and Slack is fabulous, but there's a part of me that really craves, there's that ability to turn around being like, oh my God, did you hear that guy. Or what do I do in this moment? I'm freaking out, especially being like 2 days in. You didn't even have time to put a pot plant on your desk. Like that's crazy. And I guess it sounds like you're hitting the ground running a little bit.
Well, it was kind of not even a choice. I had to.
Yes.
But everyone
do you think you've
was
learned
so
any new
supportive,
skills?
though.
Like, do you think you've learned, like, obviously resilience is a massive factor at the moment, but what kind of things are you learning that you didn't know before doing that?
I think I underestimated my time management skills because I've always sort of laughed it off like, oh, I'm a bit of a gremlin. I don't know what I'm doing half the time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you're put into that position where you really do have to have your time together and organized, and you don't have the luxury of office hours to dictate when you are working and when you stop working. For me, that was probably the hardest thing because, again, in my spare time, I'm sitting at my desk. I'm playing games at my computer, and I'm doing all of those things in the same space that I would be doing my work. So finding the actual end time of when I stop working is probably the biggest difference for me. But I'm actually quite happy with how I've done with that. That surprised me. Other than that, I've learned a lot about cars because I've also been editing for Roadshow, and I knew absolutely nothing about cars. I don't even drive, and now I am an expert.
Well, we can take this offline. I'd love to pick your brains about a certain model of car I'm eyeing off, actually. But
I've got you.
Awesome. So, in your current role, like, what kinds of things are you writing about that maybe you haven't before, or what's your bread and butter? Like, how's that all coming together?
Wow. The thing about the job that I'm doing at the moment is there's a lot of scope for me to just get a bit weird. So I've worked a lot of content producing jobs before where we've had set things that we'd cover. And for CNET, the beauty is that we do have like the wider verticals of tech, science, culture, but there's so much under those umbrellas that I can pretty much find an angle that really is like grabbing me and make it work. So I've been doing some very strange stories. I've really been enjoying the opportunity to do long features. So the most recent one I did was actually about lockpicking as a sport.
Oh, I've read it.
And how there's a whole community of these people that just lockpick for sport. And I got myself a little practice kit, and I've opened it 3 times successfully. It shouldn't sound like I'm so proud of it because it is translucent, so I can see what I'm doing.
I've got a translucent one as well.
So
I know exactly what you mean. It is a moment where you hear that click and you're like, yes. Nailed it.
And my victory is that the one time that I actually saw my team in person, I was able to give it to them, and half of them couldn't do it at all. So there was that little moment of vindication being like, yep, I'm not the only one who's really struggling with this.
It reminds me of that documentary on Netflix at the moment about the cubes, the cube kids that compete and do the
Rubik's Cubes.
Rubik's Cubes. Check it out. It's a must watch.
They have always just flummoxed my brain. I do not understand that. I think it's probably too mathematical for me.
It makes me feel a little bit dumb as a human being, and I'm I power to them. Honestly, it's
And these kids are like 8 years old, and they have better memory and spatial reasoning than I have at 26. And I'm just.
I feel like I've maxed out. Like, I think that's way past me now. But like, one thing I really like to ask people that I interview is, obviously, you've hustled your way to where you are at the moment, but there are people out there that are aspiring content creators, writers, and journalists that maybe review video games because they love playing them just as much as we do here at New Game Plus. What advice would you give to someone that's up and coming, really wants to get their content out there and maybe gets more feedback or engagement from people on what they're writing and how they're going about it? So, what worked for you?
I think the biggest thing for me was I learned very, very quickly to grow a thick skin. And that was mostly centered around pitching. So I was riddled with anxiety the first time I ever sent a pitch off because I was like, I don't have any evidence that I can do this. I'm sorry, but here you are. And that's not at all the way that you should be going about it. Because, I mean, again, coming from the lessons that I learned from working lunch, having that confidence in the value of your work is so important. But the biggest piece of advice that I can give someone in that position is if the pitch doesn't work, pitch again. Pitch something different. Come up with something different. There's always something else. And just because one pitch doesn't work doesn't mean that the others won't as well. I think I pitched probably at least 15 to 20 stories before I got one that was accepted for my first pitch. And I think with games, because there is a lot of competition, it can feel like you're the smallest little guppy fish in the ocean.
Right.
But even a little guppy fish has something to say. And it can mean that you have the right angle, and it could mean that you have the right timing. And I think just it's so easy to become disheartened with it. And it's so easy to say, like, oh, the universe is against me because I can't get a pitch through and I can't figure out what I'm getting through to this. But I think it's really frustrating and sad when I see things like that, because it's absolutely not necessarily a reflection of the person's talent or, like, determination. It could be a product of the times. It could be a product of the particular outlet that you're pitching to not having the budget for a freelancer.
Totally.
And it's a whole host of different things. So the biggest tips that I can give to people who are hustling to try and get into that sort of thing: pitch often, pitch different things, have a thick skin with your pitches. Remember that, like, the phrase "kill your darlings" is there for a reason. Like, it's part of the package when it comes to doing media.
Yeah.
That not everything's going to fly, but also remember that there will come an opportunity if you persist with the right story and the right timing, the right outlet. And it can be really hard when you don't have that straight off the bat, but that doesn't mean that you'll never have it.
I agree. Yeah, love that. Thanks, Steph. Now, finally, I'd love to hear from you about what's next for you in your career. Where do you see, what's like blue sky world? What are you aiming for? Like, I know you've just landed this dream job at CNET, so obviously there's no plans to shift anytime soon, but everyone's got a goal, everyone's got a dream. Where do you see yourself?
Look, for sure. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy at the moment, but in terms of the future, I would really, really love to be able to push the long form features that I'm doing even further, and do more of them, because there's so much weirdness in the world that I would really love to cover. But I mean, I think the big thing for me is I have been doing pretty well straight writing for the last 5 or 6 years. And I've really enjoyed at CNET being able to branch out into doing different types of multimedia, whether that be lending my voice once a week to the news roundup. So if you ask your Google Home or Alexa on Monday evenings and Tuesdays what the tech news is from CNET, you'll hear me.
Oh, what's up?
And I love that. I love being a part of doing that, whether it's audio or being on camera. I mean, I was a musical theatre kid, and I still am a musical theatre kid, let's be real. So that kind of performance is really, really exciting to me. So
Right.
I'm really enjoying being able to do more of that. Ideally, I'd like to do even more still. It's kind of why I started doing Twitch anyway recently, because, I mean, A, musical theatre kid, constantly singing, constantly trying to just annoy the hell out of everyone else in the house. But B, it's a way of having that sort of discussion. So the biggest thing for me, I'm really happy with where I am. I love CNET and I love the team that I'm in. But the more multimedia, the better.
Congrats. Well, I'm so happy to hear that you're really content and loving where your life is heading right now. And I really appreciate your time chatting to me about all things journalism on New Game Plus, but I can't wait to follow your career and see where you go. And hopefully there'll be another video games industry event that will high five at in the future.
Soon.
Or maybe
That
just
would be
elbow
great.
bump forever. But yeah, you're amazing and I can't wait to see you blossom and grow. So thanks so much for your time, Steph.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been so good to catch up, even if this is the best that we've got until the next gaming
I
event.
agree. Now I'm just going to get my Ugg boots and finish my cup of tea and power to you,
Cheers.
girl. Thanks for your time.
You're hanging out with us here on New Game Plus TV live on Twitch. You might be listening to us as a podcast. I'm Cringe here with Meg, Jamie, and Dom. And as we were just playing that interview that might have looked a little bit live, but it certainly wasn't live, it was pre-recorded. You'll be able to find that on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/NewGamePlusTV later. Meg, you were like let's talk about Avengers beta. And then Don
Okay.
was like, why don't we just make it a segment? I was like, you know what, let's just do that. Like, let's fuck it,
Yeah.
we'll do it live. Because you were rock hard for Avengers back at Twitch. You were like there for the grey box demo they gave you. You were there for the pre-rendered video that looked kind of like gameplay, but like obviously wasn't finalized gameplay. You were fully on that Kool-Aid. What changed?
I was. As you guys already know, I'm obsessed with Kamala Khan, and we got to interview the general manager of the studio when they came to PAX Australia last year. So I've been on the bandwagon, the hype train, if you will, for a long time. And when there was the open beta, the PlayStation beta, a couple of weeks ago, I spent my ISO weekend smashing that out to give it a red hot crack. And what I was really hoping for, that I was telling you guys about earlier, is that I really wanted to play a Spider-Man or a Tomb Raider style game, and I didn't get that. And I did know that going into it that I wasn't like that, but when the demo seemed to be full of action, lots of quick time events as a first impression, which was definitely a really strange way to open a Destiny style game, but then forcing you to play as specific characters through this, like, levels that were made for those characters. So things like the Hulk jumping on sides of the walls and doing like mega slams, and then playing as Kamala Khan with the fisticuffs and jumping across platforms with her stretchy arms. It was a lot of fun, but playing multiplayer with other players is just not my cup of tea. It's not what I wanted. I wanted to fail in private. I don't really want to, be forced to play with other characters. Jamie, you said you played it as well.
Yes, I did. I played I got into the closed PC beta, so they ran 3 weekends of beta. So they did a closed PS4 one, then they did a PC one, and then for other people, and then they did an open one last week because the game's coming out next week, which
It's
is
super soon.
Yikes, that really crept up. Jesus.
Yeah, totally.
But look, honestly, I wasn't super big on it. Like, it functions fine as a video game. It just, the characters seem fun enough to play. Like, I wasn't too big on Iron Man, but Captain America seemed really fun to play. Kamala, Ms. Marvel seemed really fun to play. Hulk seemed really fun to play. But I don't know, just to me, just feels like, okay, this is a really cool kind of action adventure game, but then they decided to make it, but it's also a loot game now, and there's also a big multiplayer aspect, and it's a service game now because we're going to be supporting this game for years. It's just like, hang on, like,
this wasn't what I thought I was getting myself into.
Like, I just feel like at this point, and I mean, Donald would also, you can also chime in because I know you're a big Destiny and sort of a Division 2 player, and also a big Magic player.
Wearing a Destiny shirt right now, so maybe.
Like, I just feel like at this point, like, I think I've hit my point of just why does this need to be a service game? Like, I play Final Fantasy 14 and I play Destiny. Like, I can't keep keeping up with everything. It's just like it's just, like, everything here. It's just like, this is just too much.
Yeah, like it. Like, it sounds like you kind of want Marvel Ultimate Avengers for the current generation, as opposed to what we're getting here with Marvel's Avengers.
We got that game. It came out last year on the Switch. I bought that game. It
that
wasn't very
didn't
good,
turn out so well, though, did it?
No.
It's fine. It depends on how you want to see it.
Wasn't it just a skinned, like, Diablo game?
Ooh.
They all are. They are all a what's called numbers go higher game.
Yeah, it was like a top-down, action RPG, whereas this seems so much more like that. Very obviously wasn't a AAA Avengers game, right? Like, it was obviously a licensed game, and what it set out to do, people kind of knew what they were getting themselves into. But I think, Meg, you highlighted, because it's Crystal Dynamics and because Avengers is such like a story-rich and a character-rich universe, you were fully expecting like a much bigger focus on the story.
Narrative.
Yeah.
I wanted like a really unique perspective, like a spin-off from the comics. But what I did really enjoy was the depth and the granularity they've invested into skill trees and I guess being able to give your character all these different attacks. They were like really primo and really fun, not only visually, but the validation of killing those like robots when you've done an amazing combo is awesome. But there was a lot of elements about, like, in the Destiny sort of aspect of it, where you are finding loot and constantly upgrading all your old shit and like selling all your old stuff, crafting it into new things. And there is an added level that I didn't really think I wanted or needed. So I get what they're trying to do, and hopefully it adds value. But for me, I am really, really looking for more of a story.
It's like with Diablo 3, with Destiny, that you can there is cosmetic effect of the loot that you have. It's my understanding that there is no cosmetic effects to the loot that you pick up in Avengers.
Yeah, I didn't
I
really
haven't
see
seen any
anything.
cosmetic, but they did have like +6 like armor and all the like protection and all that kind of stuff.
I think that like Scott was saying when we at least when we spoke with them at PAX last year, Mag, it was like a lot of the equipment, like the stat changing equipment, won't be cosmetic, but then the cosmetic stuff, like skins for your character, will be separate from that. So that probably
I ran around with Kamala Khan with like a frog hat the whole time, and it felt really jarring around like badass Iron Man doing his thing. So I think
that sounds right for Kamala.
yeah, it's super cute, and I think
canon.
I wonder though, like this type of genre of game and like the rise of female gamers out there playing like Animal Crossing to the max, they're gonna get sick of Animal Crossing eventually and want to start like dabbling in other stuff, and they'll see Kamala Khan, that 16-year-old teen fighting like the good fight out there with the Avengers, and maybe think this game could be something for me. But the type of genre this game delivers is not the easiest to pick up. So I wonder like what they were trying to do with bringing a teenage female character into this game and who they were trying to appeal to. It appeals to me, but
it also appeals to like I know Jamie is a massive Kamala Khan fan. Like I'm partial to the Ms. Marvel comics that I read. So like her appeal, like she's probably the most marketable character of the lot outside of the core Avengers crew. So I can definitely see why she's definitely a focus.
But do they need to bring her in? Like, what's the advantage of bringing her in and not just leaving her out? Like, of course, the comics are bloody amazing, which is awesome. But I wouldn't say that she's like a mass market kind of. People don't really know who she is really yet, do they?
They will, because I imagine that there'll be a decent. This game will do well enough. Like as in like the sheer Avengers name will be enough to sell, as well as just the marketing push that Sony is pushing behind it. Hence them getting Spider-Man in exchange. But yeah, like you're saying, like if this game is trying to appeal for the masses, and yet it has this has a much more hardcore loot progression and speccing out system. Like how is for the people who aren't interested in that, how is do you reckon that either the spectacle that the story promises or even just the moment to moment combats is enough to carry people through? Because Lord knows, like Destiny was kind of in a bad place for the first year, but the just the moment to moment shooting and movement in that game felt so good that it managed to get us through the hard times.
What was the entire
to Avengers?
I think you've absolutely nailed it, Don, very articulately, actually, and I'm banking on that to carry me through this review that I'll be doing in a couple of days' time. So I really, really want all of that and what you've just said. So I'm stay tuned for that final word.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Like I'm surprised. I'm like as you said, September crept up on me. I was expecting the big September game to be Tony Hawk. I forgot that.
That too. Seriously, it's going to be a hot Q4.
I mean, I'm getting into Crystal Chronicles and Windbound and Crash 4. God, we've got so many goddamn games. It's so hard to be like, oh yeah, it's coming up to AAA season, when really the last 6 months haven't kind of happened for a lot of people.
2020 is basically the forgotten year. It's the lost year for basically everyone.
Supercast year.
End of the truth.
Anyway, Marvel Avengers is coming out soon. I forgot the date already. What was the date?
Next week, September 4th.
Hey, you're all over it.
On PS4 and Xbox One and Stadia.
And PC. And PC.
And also, just wanted to call out Bonnie in the chat about my call about teenage girls playing Animal Crossing. I'm certainly not a teenage girl, and I've sunk 400 hours into it. So it was just generalizing like a new wave of gamers that are like exploring that Switch gaming for the first time ever. And I think we're seeing a total like wave of next gen stuff. So it was mostly just using a teenage character in Marvel Avengers to maybe appeal to a wider audience. That's the only thing.
Like, as an example for the for the Marvel game as well, it seemed like this could be I don't know if you were necessarily framing it as like Marvel Avengers is going to be the gateway drug to like gaming more generally.
Yeah, no. But I was like, I would at least see that and be like, damn, like that I'd look into that further because of Kamala. So yeah, that's all I meant there.
Yeah, like I wonder though, like Sony's actually been doing pretty well in terms of like their marquee game, like their big tentpole games have been pretty consistent this year. As in, I only speak of Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, but those two games did very well for Sony. So yeah, like will like will that momentum carry through to Avengers? I say knowing full well that is a cross-platform game, but let's just call it for what it is. It is like Sony's definitely pushing the marketing side of things. So
You say
I just
that,
wonder,
like-
if it'll be if this will be the success they want it to be, or whether it will fade away to nothing like Anthem.
Right.
I mean, you would
trailer
only
you can
get.
watch.
Sorry, go on, Jamie.
There is literally a trailer you can watch. It's called the PlayStation Advantage trailer. So it's like it's going to be a PlayStation game, whether you like it or not. And that's before we even talk about Spider-Man. Which let's not dive into that, please.
Remember back to a time when I was like, maybe I'll be able to work in marketing, and now I'm like, I'm exhausted just by consuming marketing. Like, yeah. You're hanging out with us here on New Game Plus TV Live. Stick around. We're going to be talking 3D platformers, SpongeBob SquarePants, Rehydrated, and Ty the Tasmanian Tiger in just a little bit. You're back with us here on New Game Plus TV Live on Twitch. You might be hanging out with us on C31, C44, or listening to us as a podcast. My name's Cringe. I'm here with Meg, Jamie, and Don. And look, I love 3D platformers. I love them so much. And we had the 2D platformer renaissance, if you will, a number of years ago. But in more recent times with stuff like Crash and Spyro, obviously older remasters, and then, A Hat in Time, Snake Pass, Ukulele. Some are better than others. I'll put that out there now. But we've been enjoying a lot of 3D platformers lately. And the latest in that long, long list, at least for Jamie, has been SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. And as a player of JRPGs, shit, even that is a long name. So give us a rundown. When this game came out in 2003-ish on the original Xbox.
It was originally it was on everything. It was PS2, Xbox, GameCube, GBA, PC. Like, it was a big deal.
Game Boy Advance will be a bit different.
And PC apparently as well was a very different game on the PC.
Bizarre.
Yeah, there's a long story about that. That's a long thing. But yeah, no, this is my first time actually going for it proper because I never played this game back in the day. I was not playing a lot of video games, and when I was 15, well, I would have been 15 years old at that point. Jesus Christ. But no, I wasn't really playing. This is my first time playing. I'm like, this is actually really surprised because you hear a lot of people talk about this game because it's it's kind of the one SpongeBob game everyone seems to have this really fond memory of. And not just because, hey, lots of kids now who are posting all these SpongeBob memes because that's the hot thing you do on the internet these days is post SpongeBob shit. And just, it's like, no, this is actually still holds up. This is still a good platformer. Like moving around the world feels really fun. The level design is really decent. Like the voice acting as well was really good. Like there's a lot to like about this game, and not to mention the fact that this is a mostly full blown remake. Like they ported this game to Unreal Engine 4, and it really looks nice. Like they did the work to kind of make it way more colorful. There's some really, really good character models. Like holy shit, they're amazing.
But it also seems like some of the... I remember I spoke with Millie, who I used to do Zed Games with, about it a few weeks ago, and she was a big fan of the original game on the original Xbox she played it on, the massive box that you could probably kill a man with.
With the Duke controller?
With the thick boy controller, my god.
Yeah, boy.
But she was kind of frustrated by some of the inconsistencies in like the effects that you would expect to be there from the original game. But now I think... Let's start with the visuals and the graphics, because you mentioned it was ported to Unreal Engine 4. I actually didn't know that, but if you look at the game, it looks like a game that has been, developed for this day and age, which can't be said for a lot of remasters that we see, where it's just like, we're going to render at a high resolution, we're going to upscale a bunch of the textures, which is something I'm getting with Crystal Chronicles. But this, when you watch it side by side, the animation absolutely stands out to me as well. The character models and the animations you mentioned, Jamie, shit, they look hot.
Like I'm looking, like I'm not even expecting like a SpongeBob game to really look that great, but I'm looking at some of the animation work, particularly like when they get SpongeBob kind of talking. It's like, wow, this actually looks really good.
Yeah.
Like I know it's a really strong visual style to begin with, but no, they do the work to actually animate the character, and like it looks really nice.
I remember when they took this game to conventions late last year and did like booths and stuff, and had like SpongeBob, massive giant
blow up SpongeBob
statues. So like take photos next to it and stuff like that, and it looked like it did look really beautiful. So did it live up to the hype of what you were seeing?
Yeah, no, like I'll be honest, I didn't really look at a lot of kind of the pre-release stuff. Like I just and stuff. Take a look because hey, I like old platformers. So no, it actually really surprised me with how nice it looks and how well most of the sound is. Like they got most of the voice actors to kind of I don't know if it's all the same audio from the old game or whatever, but still sounds really good except for a couple of characters who are not voiced by the original actors, and you can tell because it does not sound like them at all.
Have they redone all of the voiceovers or just some of them?
No, well, there's 2 characters in the game that they don't have the original. Like Mr. Krabs does not sound like Mr. Krabs, and I think there's Mermaid Man, which doesn't sound like Mermaid Man at all. But it kind of sucks because all the actual voice acting, I don't know if this is kind of if it's still kind of the old voice acting or not, but it all sounds really good. Like Tom Kenny's a really good. Hey, who'd have thunk? Tom Kenny's a really good voice acting. Like that cast is really strong, and yeah, you kind of hear a lot of the same lines when you're playing the game all the time, but you kind of expect that. But when their characters talk, it's really funny and actually really, really well done. Like doesn't feel thrown together at all, which is nice.
Is there much of sorry, go on.
Like does you say like a lot of this like leans onto like do you need to watch SpongeBob SquarePants or do you need to have played the original game to really get something out of here, or like can like me who has barely watched SpongeBob SquarePants, who never played this game, could I get something out of this?
I mean, look, you're at least familiar with kind of like some of the characters and kind of the concept of the world, right?
But let's pretend I'm a completely blank slate here.
Right.
You've never been on the internet.
Exactly. That's actually a really good question. Like, I'm honestly, I'm not too sure. Like, I'm convinced this remaster only exists because SpongeBob memes are everywhere. Like there is literally a moment where you walk into Squidward's house and you just straight up see the handsome Squidward, the image of handsome Squidward, which I'm sure you look it up, you know exactly what that is. I feel like that's kind of where this is mostly being angled to. But that's like honestly, look. That's actually just a really good question because I
did not expect to break you with that question.
I thought you were going to come up with something
like the what's it called, like the platforming and the collectibles are sustainable enough so that a layman can come
honestly,
into the game.
That's the thing. Like the actual core kind of moving through the world is just it's good. Like it's really fun and interesting, and there's a good movement behind everything. Like the collectibles are satisfying. It's also a very chill and easy game. Like you can blow through this in under 10 hours, and you could mostly get all the achievements or trophies in one playthrough if you really want to get in that path. Like it's good. I mean, I honestly just didn't think I would imagine if you're playing a SpongeBob SquarePants game in 2020, like I would imagine you would need some familiarity to kind of really maybe appreciate most of it. Like it doesn't feel like there's a moment where you need like, oh, this is really specific in-joke that only fans of the show are going to get. Like, it never feels like...
Although there are plenty of those, I imagine.
Oh, of course. But I feel like if you at least know something... Like, I feel like you can be fine without knowing much about the story or... God, the story of SpongeBob, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was going to be like, is the story a core part of the game? Because
No, not at all. It's I feel like it would help to have some... At least kind of get an idea about some of the ideas that SpongeBob has, just so you can kind of get used to the humor the show has.
Yeah.
But that's kind of it. But it'd be nice, but it's not a requirement, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Cool. I guess around because you flagged the level design earlier as like pretty competent. This is a level structure? It's not an open world, but these are sort of much larger levels, sort of like a Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah. So it's basically it is kind of a traditional kind of 3D collectible platformer. So you've got a hub world, you kind of walk up and you go 2 levels from there. But every level is actually surprisingly big. Like I think every level is kind of structured into like 2 to 3 kind of big areas where you have all your collectibles. Like as basically every level is like a thing you have to do in every level, which is like, hey, you have to collect like first thing I think it was like, okay, you go to the first level, you have to collect 10 jars of jellyfish jam because that's the thing you do in the show. And basically, that's kind of if you just go through that, you go through the whole level. It's kind of a through line for every level is that you have to collect this one big thing, and it will take you through most of the level and most of the collectibles, which I think is a really interesting idea. Like I like it a lot. And then there's multiple characters you can play as who offer a slightly different gameplay style, which is kind of fun. Like one is more fun than the other, but that's just my predilection. But yeah.
Were you playing it on what console?
Xbox One, base Xbox One as well. I didn't have an Xbox One X or an S or anything like that. But it plays fine. Like there is some issues with loading, but like it's
in the current generation.
But I think kind of all that aside, like it is still a cheap game. Like you can get this game for I think under 50 Australian. It's a budget priced game, which is I think it's kind of the way you do this. So
it's kind of surprising when you think about it like that, where I'm very much of the mind when people are like, oh, they're re-releasing it on a new platform, and it's just like a little bit of an upscale. I'm like, the amount of work that goes into even a base level, what's considered like a lukewarm remaster, right? That's still time, that's still money that devs have to pay to staff.
Oh yeah, like there is still
You don't
work.
just push the upgrade button in Unity.
No,
It's not like Dolphin where you just go higher resolution. Like that's not how that works.
I mean, if we were having that conversation, we would be having a really good version of Silent Hill 2 that you can legally play right now.
And it would probably be better than the Silent Hill it would be better than the Silent Hill remaster because that was a crappy remaster trilogy from what I recall.
Yes, it is. That's the joke. That's the reference. That's where I was going with that. Yes.
The SpongeBob rehydrated using Unreal Engine 4 to look so modern and so fun, and to have gameplay that holds up really, really well. I'm kind of surprised that it is a budget title. But good.
Like it's a lot better than I was anticipating. They also have. I'll leave with one more thing very quickly. They have this really amazing. I don't know if this was an original game, but it's the best thing I've ever seen in any platform that has all these collectibles. So once you discover a thing, you need like a task, you need to do a level. Let's say you're like, okay, well, I just want to not do this right now. I'll go do another level. But didn't you realize? Well, okay, I want to go back and do that original task where I just discovered it. I can hit the pause. I can go to the pause menu, go to that level specifically, kind of highlight that task I discovered, instantly warps that task. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. I love this. This is just the coolest thing in the world now. Like, it's a very specific thing that makes me very happy, but God, quality of life is so good. I love it.
There are a lot of weird in-jokes. Even just the overlay footage that we're playing on Twitch looks like the weird putting the captain's hand over the screen to like hide SpongeBob sliding off screen. Like dumb crap like that is like, I love dumb jokes like that.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't expect this review to go this direction, and I'm practically impressed that it has. So thanks for this raving review.
Whilst Jamie was talking, you had put your order through for SpongeBob SquarePants HD Remix.
Well, it's worth pointing out. Right now. It's worth pointing out as well because the 3D platformer genre has been having something of a renaissance, and this is a really good example of like it being done right. Spyro and Crash, obviously, a lot of people were like, "Oh, Crash is really, really hard. They fucked up like the hitboxes or whatever." And shut up, you're just bad at the game. Like, it's changed. It's a bit
counterpoint. Different. It's a Dark Souls of platforming.
Oh, the Dark Souls of platforming is one of my favorite jokes.
Out of the chat, he's gone.
Click, please.
The Crash Bandicoot of RPGs. I don't know. Like that obviously happened, and now we're getting Crash 4, which I think is a really good way to go about doing it. Like to take these old platformers like Spyro and Crash and like even an Ape Escape I would love, or a Croc, to remaster that. Like, how good would a fucking Ape Escape remaster be?
I would love to have Croc again.
I would literally buy a PlayStation 5 to buy for a new Ape Escape game. I'm not even joking.
The thing is, Ape Escape 1 got the PSP remaster, and I think that's actually a really good way to play the game. As much as it's not like you get the 2 analog sticks, it visually looks really good. And like it still feels like a decent game if it looks a little bit drab when you're playing on a PSP or on an emulator. With Croc, Meg, the problem is I have a lot of affection for Croc, but shit, those games play terribly nowadays. Like the
tank controls in a platformer. Are you kidding me?
Tank controls only existed for Croc 1, so the Legend of the Gobbos game.
No. I played Croc 2 recently. They're still tank controls.
They're not as bad of a tank. It's a better tank.
They're still pretty bad. I'm sorry.
But being able to remaster that, because the levels and the charm of the characters in the world, I think that holds a lot. And so they take that, potentially could throw it into Unreal Engine 4 like they've done with SpongeBob, and go, cool, here's Croc 1 and 2 remastered, and then we're going to make the Croc 3 that never happened. I think that would actually be really cool.
So you really want to play your Discount Yoshi game, is that right?
It's a good game in its own right.
It's a great game.
Once you fix it's not a great game, it's a good game that I have a lot of affection for, but like when... I forgot the point I was going to make. No, when you fix the controls.
The point is Gex remake coming soon to a store near you.
You know what I played recently? It was the Medieval remaster.
Was it good?
Shithouse. It was so jank. I would not recommend it at all. Not even on sale. It was just not polished enough, and it just played really awful. Like it sort of hadn't finessed the issues like what you're saying about Croc.
Was it loyal to what you remember of the original Medieval games, or did it just handle bad? Yeah,
it handled awfully. Like the camera was really awful. So So I get what you mean when you say like it's you have to either commit fully or don't just bring it across for the sake of it.
God. Also, while we're talking about 3D platformers, like, so my thing with 3D platformers is I love games with good movement and good feeling jumps and good feeling kind of just going through a world.
Well, that's the platforming part of 3D platforming. So
yeah, absolutely. Which is why I'm like, hey, it'd be really nice if we could get a new Prince of Persia as well.
Oh my god. Yes, obviously.
Because I have been looking at my copy of Sands of Time and I'm like, I just maybe bought another copy for my PC because I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to play that game again because it's so good.
I love the 2008 one.
But really?
I love the 2008 one. Like, it is such a fun world to traverse. The combat sucks. The combat is really lukewarm and really
combat is bad. I will give you that. I just don't like... Okay, this is where I'm going to be a bit of a snob. I don't like the fact that it just feels too simple. Like, it feels like it's just... I'm not in control as much as I want to be. And I'm thinking like...
Yes, and a lot of that I feel like is Ubisoft being like, how the fuck are we going to make Prince of Persia appealing? Let's just make it a game for everyone, i.e. water it down a bit. And I get that as someone who appreciated the older Prince of Persia games because they always seemed a bit more involved. I didn't play those games. I've only played the 2008 game.
Okay.
And so I loved it because it was quite straightforward.
You have an Xbox One, don't you? You have an Xbox One at the moment, don't you? Sands of Time is backwards compatible on that. You should play that again. Or play that, I should say.
If I like buy is it on Xbox Live or...
Yeah, you can go buy the game on your console right now.
What a world!
I know what you're doing this weekend, Jack. Sorted.
No, well, I mean,
but also
I'm still playing other games to review because Crystal Chronicles. If they fix the fucking server, but Windbound. I don't know if you guys have seen Windbound. It looks dope, and it's by a bunch of Brisbane devs mostly. So Lee May, Jamie, you know Lee. He worked on a lot of the writing for that game. I've also got a mobile game that I'm trying to get through. It's like a Game of Thrones game, but I have no investment in Game of Thrones. It's like trying to play games that friends of mine have made. I always love doing that. But
this is the Apple Arcade one?
Oh, yes, it is. Or maybe it's a free to play.
There's a few Game of Thrones games though. There's a couple out there.
Right on time. Whilst what's the sentiment for that series is at an all-time high.
Yeah,
season 8 is going to be grand, isn't it?
But seeing as we're also talking about Brisbane developers as well, I've also been kind of playing the Tide of Tasmania Tide, the re-release of
What
Tide
a
of
good
Tasmania
segue.
Tide.
Oh,
yeah,
there it is.
That's why they pay you the big bucks, Jamie.
I can do it
there
too.
you
It's
go.
great. But yeah, so if we're talking about SpongeBob as being this, I don't want to say it's big budgeted because I don't believe it is. But
Tide is certainly not that.
No, I mean it is very modest. Like this is very much so. To kind of give a bit of backstory for this, so Chrome, the developer, is kind of still around. They ported this game to PC about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
They've been kind of porting the other games to PC as well. And then about last year, they ran a Kickstarter campaign to say, hey, we want to bring this to Nintendo Switch. And also, if we hit stretch goals, we're going to be putting this out on PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah.
And I've been playing the Switch version. I got a code for it. Full disclosure, of course. But, this is my first time actually going for it proper. Like, this is comfy. Like, this is very much a game that was released originally in 2002, so
it's not balanced that well usually. When you go back that far, it's like some parts feel better than others.
But it's also really interesting because my understanding of Thai as well was always that colored by the fact that, and maybe Jack, this isn't something you're not going to really have much of a reference to, but there's an exhibit in Acme called Screen Worlds where there is literally like a permanent exhibit of just showing off all the stuff for Thai to Tasmania Tiger, like this game published by EA from back in the day. Like, wild, absolutely wild. But no, this game still kind of holds up. Like, it is very much a product of its time, and I haven't really done anything to change any of that. But it runs at 60 frames per second. It still plays relatively well. It's the most Australian platformer you will ever play.
Oh, fully.
Literally the first level in this game is called 2 Up, which is a reference that no one outside of Australia is going to know. Maybe the British, but mostly it's a very specific reference.
It looks pretty janky, to be honest. Like, going back and looking at a game that hasn't had a lot of work, and I get that was kind of the point, right? Like, Chrome Studios was one of the biggest dev studios in Australia, like, back in the day. Really up until Blade Kitten in the late noughties. Yeah, we're not addressing that. We're not addressing that. But, like, in the late noughties, early teens, around 2009, the GFC happened. Australian game devs kind of just ate shit, and so they had to lay off a bunch of people and hire on like contractors to get a bunch of their projects out. Some of those staff obviously still work at Chrome, so they've got a kind of a smaller team. There was a Ty the Tasmanian 4 that actually launched on the Windows 8 store. That's fucked to me. That's a weird fact about this series. But yeah, Ty 1, 2, and 3 were on, it was like PS2, GameCube, Xbox originally.
And Game Boy Advance. Can't forget that console, because Australia has this. There is a long story we can talk about, kind of Australian developers in Game Boy Advance games. There's a long story.
I mean, Chrome also worked on like the PSP version of the Force Unleashed. Chrome's a weird fucking studio, man. Like I kind of love it, but
they're versatile, they're agile, they'll take on any project, you know.
But no, like,
sounds good.
It's a cool, like, honestly, like, it's really cool. Like, it's nice to be able to say I'm playing this, you know, one of the biggest games ever made in Australia on my Switch. Like, I'm
sorry,
not really
LA Noise is what now?
One of Donald.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, like, it's fun. Like, it holds up reasonably well. They've done some work to kind of make it palatable in 2020. Like, it's good. Like, can't really complain about it too much.
So there are loot bonuses. It's always online.
The Battle Pass.
There's a Battle Pass,
It's actually
there's
like a battle royale
mini
mode.
Battle Pass.
Yeah, no, fully.
Well, there are bonus skins you can get now.
Yes.
The worst.
Although, like, we are talking a lot of, like, say, of these remasters and like diving back into old properties. Like, it feels like the nostalgia for 3D platformers and collectathon games is very much there. Do you reckon like there could be a viable big budget collectathon platformer based on an original property in 2020 or in the modern era, or is this a genre that's purely there to feed off your childhood nostalgia?
No,
I would say there is. Like, I mean, that was kind of what Yooka-Laylee was supposed to be.
That was still nostalgia, though. That was the band. That was the Banjo Kazooie people. Was the Banjo Kazooie people?
It was, yeah.
It was
doing the Banjo Kazooie thing.
I wonder, do you guys know, is it cheaper with the rights to like borrow old IP than it is to make a new IP and trademark it all for ownership? Like, what?
Depends on the IP. Like, you can probably get Ty the Tasmanian. I can't imagine Ty the Tasmanian tiger being particularly expensive compared to, like, say.
Right.
Like, say, a Sparrow. If you want to do a new Sparrow, say, that would be much more expensive.
Yeah.
It's a higher risk to create new IP that would fail than it would be to repurpose something that people have known and loved for 20 years. Is that fair to say?
I would say,
yeah. Then again, indie, like, I'm surprised that the indie scene hasn't latched onto this quite yet. Or maybe its time will come.
You see bits and pieces of it. Like, you're concerned
it's a lot of work
around, like, can we see a 3D platformer collectathon from a AAA studio? I think these games work really well in like the sort of larger indie to AA space that we sort of that's probably where
the thinking should be. Is that like can we, like, are we going to see a breakout? Like, are we going to see the indie scene or the AA scene latch onto this genre like they did with 2D platformers, like they did to an extent with Doom style shooters?
I mean, look, the problem is, like, I can't, like, it's hard to make one of these games because it's got you have to get so much right.
Yeah.
Like, one person just making, you know, their ideal 3D platform is tough. Like, that's really, really tough to do.
Yeah, I can see it done with, like, by shortening the scope there, because let's admit it, even the best 3D platformers were bloated just because the standard from the 90s was games had to be 20 hours at least. Most magazines gave a value rating for games.
Yeah,
if you distill that experience into some, like, say, a 8 to 12 hour special, then I can sort of see that having a certain appeal for sure.
Snake Pass.
It just takes the right style and the right style and the developer with the right mindset to be able to execute it and hopefully not incorporate roguelike mechanics into it.
I mean, that's why I like the new SpongeBob game, because it's like, hey, this is short. Like, you can blow through this. Like, if you really put the time for it, you could probably blow through this in a weekend relatively easily.
What is a speed run for that game?
Hold on. You bring it up, but there was a point where before they patched it, you could finish this game on PC in 3 minutes.
Value for money.
Exactly.
I
mean, you can finish Golden Sun in a few minutes. It's not technically the correct ending, but it's still an ending.
A few minutes. Yeah, sure. Like, 45 minutes, but sure.
But no, like the Snake Pass is a good example of a new IP using kind of old like level design kind of ideas around 3D platformers, collectathons, but then using new technology to work on how the snake moves around. Because with a lot of platforming, it's like, how do we make the movement feel good? That's the difficult part of a good platformer. And if you fuck that up, you fuck the entire game up. With Snake Pass, they made it so that, we have this cool snake movement technology. How the fuck are we going to sell this? And so they kind of took that and made a much more methodical sort of platformer. And I think, I have trouble saying like Snake Pass is an easy and fun game to go back to because it can be kind of exhausting at times. But it can be like at least the early levels where it's not like fuck your chicken strips, you're going down. Like when it gets to the last quarter of the game, shit, it's savage. But the first quarter of the game, the first 4 levels really, they feel pretty good to interact with, really for anyone. And I think seeing more devs like Sumo Digital, I think was the dev of that game. They're right. Sort of a medium-sized team. I think they have multiple different teams, so they're not that big. That could be where we see more of the 3D platforming development take place. Hopefully, it won't just be like nostalgia. I would like a Spyro 4 for one. If they could just fucking make that game.
Okay, look, Jack, maybe once we know that Crash Bandicoot 4 is going to be a big enough deal and it sells really well,
Crash Trilogy sold really, really well. Spyro also sold really well.
There's a huge hype train for those 2 franchises for sure. I'd be surprised if they said they weren't working on one or they didn't have plans to work on one, truly.
There's definitely a whiteboard in an Activision's office somewhere with the words SP4RO question mark.
Just a post-it note on someone's desk being like, got to get to that one day, Yeah.
Right next to delete or like fix up that trailer that we fucked up.
Or let's push out another 80 gigabyte patch for Warzone.
It's fine. I'm really, really chill about it. It's fine. Look, do we have anything that we want to fit in about 3D platformers, the renaissance of 3D platformers before we tap out?
I will say one more thing because I would really hope there's a rumor going around that Nintendo are planning to re-release a bunch of like Mario Galaxy, Mario Sunshine, and Mario 64.
Oh, geez, those games are old.
It's going on for months. Like given the fact that it's like the 35th anniversary of Mario in a couple of weeks, I think. That'd be really cool. Like I would love to be able to find a way to play Mario Galaxy without resorting to A, emulation, B, digging at my Wii U. That'd be really cool.
And it looks like garbage, like when you play it in old mode. I'll quickly just mention one of my favorite newer platformers also is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Shit, that's a fun game. Like, shit, it's so good. It's like
that's more puzzle than platform, though.
Yeah,
like there is a jump button in Treasure Tracker, but
look,
you're there to see the animation. It's like the hug button in A Boy and His Blob.
It kind of plays like a platformer, but the platforming, I don't know. It's to the game's credit.
Gaming taxonomy is a dumb path to go down. Let's just call it a roguelite.
Roguelike,
Yeah.
And on that note,
look, we'll wrap it up there. That is the end of New Game Plus TV live on Twitch this week. If you've been watching us on C31 or C44, we're live every Thursday night on twitch.tv/NewGamePlusTV. You can find us as a podcast. And indeed, if you've been watching or listening to the show this week, you can find the full interview with Steph Panecasio that Meg did on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/NewGamePlusTV. Social medias are all at NewGamePlusTV, and the website is newgameplus.tv. Meg, Jamie, and Don, thank you so much for joining me this week.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you next time.